Hi friends, welcome to this session of Salesforce and application admin app builder. So far we have seen how to create fields, what are apps, profiles, record types, what are tabs, what are custom objects, fields, what are layouts. Now we have the data model in place, and now we have the UI in place. So now let's look at how to do business automation or implement some business process. So in Salesforce we can start implementing business process using some validations, workflows, and process builder. So let us take a look at this. Basically, what are validation rules? When somebody enters like age, say age should not be less than 19, it's a business rule. Okay, so that can be automatically implemented on the UI. So using validation rules, so it will help you implement business rules on entries or updates. Whenever data is saved, this gets fired. You have to save the data on the insert or update of any object. You have major expression, there is a complete expression builder, and or if is blank is new, there are some methods, functions you can use. And if you look at it, we have a validation expression builder in which you can build complex validation, and each of those functions have got detailed explanations and examples as to how to use them. If the validation rule basically evaluates to true, it means that the rule is violated and the business process stops. So this is basically for ensuring data integrity, so that correct data goes into the system. So you have regex, vlookup, and then if you click on this link, you also have a complete detail. You can go to help.salesforce to see the complete detail of all the validation rules. So coming back to, so basically we have now, let's look at how to create a validation rule. So we'll create a validation rule for single and multiple conditions and look at some more examples, like say let's not allow name change in edit mode. When a record is added, we don't want the name to change, or we can add a age check, we can add the date of joining check, or check for unique name. So let's look at these expressions here. It's like, the first one is checking, like, if is changed name. Is change is an internal function that Salesforce gives us. It's going to check for the field, and if it is true, then it's going to stop. The next one checks for age. If you see _C is a custom field. If it is less than 18, we also added some is new, so check that it's only this validation, it happens only in the new mode, when the new record is created, not in the edit mode. And then vlookup is for comparing if the field exists already. So first you pass the field that you want to check, and then you are going to check whether that column name exists anywhere in the table. Otherwise it is going to return true or false. And the last one also checks for date. So these are some expressions. So let's look at this in action. So I'm going to head over here, and if you see here, I have my student master. So let's take an example of a new record or an existing record. Now let me go into edit mode, and let me change the name of assign 1 to 12. If I do that, as you can see, the name has changed. Now let's build our first validation rule to prevent this. So if you remember, in the classic, you have the quick access menu. So it shows you the objects, fields. Now there is something called as validation rules. So let's look on the validation rules. So if you scroll up on the left side, if you see, I have clicked on objects, it has come to the same screen. Now I have my object, custom object, and I have my field, standard as well as custom. I can see the layouts, everything. Now let's build a section. If you scroll down, you will see that there is a validation rule section. So we need to click here. What this does is this opens up a validation rule expression builder. So we'll build our name is unique. Name cannot be changed. It's going to be a first validation. We may mark it as active, give the description over here. So in the quick tips, you can look at all the operators and functions. Salesforce gives you a complete detail about each and every method and function that happens here, that occurs here. Sorry. So meanwhile, let's come back here, and this is the validation expression builder, error condition, and this is the expression builder of Salesforce. So continue on this. If you see here, there are multiple buttons. In this, you can get access to the field. So all the fields that you mention in your standard and custom objects are available over here. And then you have some system fields, like say these are some system fields dollar object type, organization dot address, city, all that it will check. Then your profile ID, and then if you have any labels defined or the user level data. So we look at all these examples of it. So first let's take the student master and let's say like name. So we got this field here, but that's not enough, so we are going to check. So we get all kind of operators here, and all function categories are there here, like date, time, logical. So let's select one of this. First of all, we need to check whether it is changed. So under the advanced, we have a couple of ones here. So let's take is changed. And now see what I'm doing. I'm going to copy this back over here. And if is changed, also I'm going to check. If is changed, then it's true. It is not allowed to. And I also need to check that it is not in the, it's in the edit mode. So first let's save this and see what happens. So we need to have the error message to name cannot be changed. So we're going to save the data over here, and so we have got this, like if the name is changed, we're going to disallow that. So let's see how it works here. Let's edit a record. So the name cannot be changed. So that's how it works. Now if you want to detect similarly, you can create one for that age should not be less than 19. So let's create a new validation rule. So let's go back to the object, and here we're going to click on validation rule, and we're going to check, like we're going to put a age check, and here we're going to check set field. So if you click it, automatically it takes it. You can see that in this case it is added the devlet 2073, the namespace plus the custom field name. So now we're going to check if it is less than 19. So then it's not going to allow that. Less than 19. So let's have this saved, it active. I'll go back to student master, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it, make it 18 and see. So age cannot be less than 18. So now it's already valid and it's taking the values over here. So we have valid values here. So now what we need to do here is there are some more conditions we can add. Let's look at some more examples. In this example, we're going to check if it is in the new mode or edit mode. What I mean is, when I go to student master and create a new record, it is new mode, this mode, and if I edit a record, it is edit mode. So what we'll do is we'll see that this validation rule of age runs only in the new mode, whereas in the edit mode I should be able to change it. So let's go back to the validation rule. So there are some other operators. Now this will go into the an AND operator. Let's add a AND. Let's build the expression. Let's say AND. So let's put the first condition here. Let's put this over here, and then we are also going to take the next value, which is going to be an advanced function, and it's going to check whether the value is new or sorry, it's yeah, if it is new, then it's going to implement this, otherwise it will not. So what this means is, if the age is less than 19, only in the new mode will it check. Now if I edit this record, I should be able to enter 18 here. Couple of things we can add over here is we can also check whether the profile is so there are some additional functions here. If you select the insert field, now let's say if the profile ID, profile name is equal to, like suppose I include this. Now these are called as global system variables, and this can also be included over here. Now suppose I say this equal to system not equal to system so this can also be a, we are going to insert, so it's going to check for the third condition and check whether it is applicable. So if the profile is not equal to system admin, then only it is going to fire. So this validation rule will fire only, not only for, it will check if it is new. Let's just check this if working, cannot be less than 19. Let's just complete this again. So we go back to the student master and let's see. Yeah, so now it's allowing because it's only in the edit mode, but now if I create a new record, it's not going to. Now it if you create it in the new mode, it's going to still fire the error because that is still valid for new mode. So we're going to put save. Now we're also going to check whether if the system administrator, then it's going to fire. So let's see that, if it is for the system administrator profile. So these are some other variables that you can use. So we go over here and we're going to check if it is a, so we're going to say if insert field, the profile, you can also check at the user ID, but right now we're going to stick to the name is equal to. So now this is going to fire only in the case whether when all these three conditions come together. So let's check this out. So let's save this. So let's create a new record and say and give it a age. It's going to fire now, because now if I do the same thing with, because it's also checking now for the condition is if it is a system administrator, sorry, if it is for age check, it's also checking whether it is a system administrator. So now let us log into a profile which is not system admin, and we all know who it is. Yeah, we have that other user which is assigned a different profile. So let's go to users. Alright, so now we're going to log in as Bob Smith, which is of a different profile. So let's check whether he's able to create. So he should be able to create a student master record with the age less than 12. Let's see. Oh, the problem is we have not given that profile access to that. So we have to go back there, give it the CRUD access. Let's check. In the CRUD access, yeah, so we haven't given the student master 2. So let's give the student master to CRUD access, and now log in again as that user and try to create a student record. So I'm going to now log in now as that user, Bob Smith, and we have got my custom sales app. We're going to go at student masters now. Let's see why it's still not showing that. Yeah, so we have a new button here, and we're going to create, say, and now we should be able to create. See, because that validation rule is checking whether the profile name, so profile name is something like that. Now you can also create conditional, like, you know, you can see if the validation, if you can check for profile name, then there is something called as label. Like you can create labels here and you can check the values in the validation rule. So those are some, like if you go to setup and give a label here, you can create your own custom labels and you can access the values of those labels over there. Okay, also you can check out custom settings, which are again, like, you know, suppose you create a setting and we need to create a list of setting your app settings. Yeah, and you specify some validation rules for it. Like, say, suppose you have created something called as custom setting. Custom setting can also be accessed in, so, and you can edit the value of that and give it a particular default value. So disable validation rule. So this also we can check over here. Suppose you're loading some data or something, or you want to give it a conditional thing, temporarily you want to disable, so you can use this logic here. Or this is like, you know, once you change the value here as a system admin, it will have a access across validation rules. So let's see this example here. So we'll go back to that same validation rule. Let's go back to the same validation rule. So we have to log out still. Yeah, so now we go back to the student master. So let's see, I'm going to access the quick access menu, go to the validation rule, and here what we are going to do is again go back to the age check, and we're going to introduce, instead of system admin, we're going to enable or disable based on a, so we have the custom setting created over there, right? So let's say for that we have to use, see, this any setting that you create will get up will be shown as setup.asSettings name. So when you select that, it's going to show you the values that you have in that, and you can also check if it is equal to true. It's a true or false, right, basically. So now what you're going to do is, the power of custom settings is, if you create one, we can dynamically manage this kind of validation rules. So now let us see if Rick is able to, right now it will not allow to enter because the default value is not true. So now if I check this settings at the global level as a system administrator and save this, and now I try to create a student master again, and now if I give, now since the validation rule says custom setting has been set to true, now it's not going to allow me to do it. Now, there is some error here. Let's check that. So I think it's an expression error. So we go back here and we're going to check if it is we're going to introduce a if condition here, and this is going to go this condition let's see if it's just the expression error. So we got didn't take it. So we're going to also check if this condition is true, otherwise we're going to get a false. So now what I have done is I have added an if condition within this. So we're going to enclose this in a bracket and that will be fine. So let's save this. Yeah, so now it took it. So let us now see when we create a new student master. And we're going to introduce 12, still taking it. So let's work on this, see what's there. So as we see now it is working. So let's go back and see what change we did to the validation rule. Let's take a look at that. So let's refresh the object, and when we look at the validation rule, what's going to come up is edit age check. So here if you go, see we have three conditions here. Now I'm also checking if it is equal to false. So if it's false, then it's not going to work. So currently the setting, custom setting of that is set to true, so that won't work. So because that's the condition, right? So we can also see, so we can make this true, and then so disable validation rule is false, means we have to change. There is a problem with the text over here. Run validation rule, rather we should be named it like that. So run validation rule can, if it is false, then it will not run. Only if it is true it's going to run. So we have this condition here, based on my custom setting it's going to run. So now if I try to save the record, it's allowing, because in this validation rule what we have done here is we are saying if it's less than 19 it's new, and if it is equal to true. So run validation rule. So let us see the app setting. Yeah, so default value is unchecked. So practice this validation rules, and we can come back over here. So you can or need not use the custom settings, but try rewind the video and look at the editing and other the edit mode and the new mode, those kind of logical comparisons, and put it in the AND clause and try to practice this. Then we can move forward. Another thing that we can try to do is, another example is to check the date. Is now suppose the date of joining is less than today, then we won't allow that. So let's see how to do that. So again it's going to spring up a new validation rule which will say date check. And you're going to compare the dates. Date of joining is less than today. Yeah, so there is a today. So let's see, let's save it. Date of joining. So that's what we're going to do now. So we are given that less than today is a function which is there. You can either type it directly or you can also pick it from this set of functions here. So if we create a student master now, or if we edit the change to change the date of joining to before today, let's see. And let's save the record. It's not going to less, so it's going to say like, you cannot enter any value less than. But if you want to specifically compare it to some date, then you got to do like the syntax here is even we don't have to by heart the syntax, comma 5, sorry, it's not dash, it's 1 comma 1 comma 1 comma 1. So this takes it. So later date cannot be less than first. So let's test that out. And we're going to edit this record and we're going to make it 17. So it's again going to say so it's throwing an error and won't allow, but if we correct it to today, we still have some issue here. We'll check this. Okay, basically year comes first and then you put these month and date. So that was the thing. And then we'll save this record. So now it should be fine. Basically I was putting the year at the top, so that's not allowed. So if you make this 2017 or 13 or any date before today, cannot be less than current date. But if you take today, then it should be fine, or anything this year should also be fine. You can check that also. Maybe put a 21 here, or change the month to 11 and save the record. It takes it because that's about the validation rule. So I want you to pause the video here, go through the video and practice all the validation rules. So validation rules basically helps you improve your data integrity, and you can enforce business rules.